Hello, hello.
Who says the cut?
No, nobody says the cut. You are tuned into this Climate Clock podcast, a fresh new edition. We are coming to you after a long time. So, thank you for being so patient, writing into our comment section as well. And this time around, we are going to take our electric vehicle conversation ahead. We have with us Mr. Utkarsh Singh, who is the CEO and co founder of BatX Energies. Now, do remember that we had spoken to the Mercedes Benz India CEO, Mr. Santosh Iyer. We spoke about electric vehicles. We spoke about the myths around electric vehicles, whether they are really sustainable. Let's go one step forward and talk about lithium ion batteries. They are used in electric vehicles. What happens once they are used? What happens once they are no more useful? They are into the scrap, they are dumped around, but there is a mechanism with which they can be reused as well. And that's exactly where Utkarsh comes in, and he's going to tell us more about it, how they are recycling lithium ion batteries and working on a sustainable vision as well. So, Utkarsh, thank you so much. Such a pleasure to have you with us in the studios today and on this podcast. And I think cameras are not new for you. You
Yeah, yeah.
are from a film background. So, tell me how the switch really happened. How did you go on from film industry to thinking about BatX Energies and especially lithium ion recycling?
Yeah. Thank you, first of all. Thank you, Sonal, for inviting me. I think you clicked on the very right topic that whether the batteries, lithium ion batteries, are sustainable or not. And I think in this podcast, I'm going to cover, click on various other topics that how EV is very much sustainable than as compared to ICE engine vehicles, and why lithium ion batteries are the best suited for this industry at the moment. Just to get back on your question, how from filming to lithium ion battery recycling. Camera has always been my passion and first love, I would say. But always have been an ambitious person, and also my co-founder, and we both met at VML Munjal University. That is where we were doing our engineering. Uh, we were working on a project to develop a small electric vehicle for a racing competition, and we were not able to source a lithium ion battery way back in 2017. That is where we got frustrated, and we just discussed as students, now we have to do something for it. We were going to manufacture lithium ion cells for India. So because as students, you don't care about the commercial angle, the other related things to business. You just want to do what your passion says. So we started immediately working on it. We took it as a project for our courses, but we didn't realize how we will get the material for these cells. Then we reached out to various Chinese players, asked them to send us some samples, but it never came, right? We had to, pass in that subject. So what we did was we bought the old cells from the market. We extracted the critical materials out of it at whatever way we could, and then fabricated a small coin cell.
Acha.
Uh, in the process, we realized, okay, cell manufacturing is going to be a bigger market for sure, but material, the sourcing of material, the supply of material is going to be a challenge, and we need to solve that first. So that is how we landed up on lithium ion battery recycling. What we thought way back 5 years is 100% a reality now. Recycling is very important.
Okay, so now we are seeing that change come about. 2017, you could not find a lithium ion battery in the country. Right now, it's become a bigger market.
Yes, 100%. If to give you a number, last 3 years, okay, I'll start with the EV, right? Last 3 years, approximately 20 lakh vehicles have been sold in India, EVs, right? Comprising of all three-wheeler, two-wheeler, and four-wheelers. Imagine the number of batteries per vehicle per battery is there, right? 20 lakh batteries are already in circulation in the market, and the industry is growing approximately last year to this year approximately 16% CAGR. So the growth is inevitable. Therefore, there is no doubt that India will be one of the largest consumers of lithium ion battery. Also, to put it in perspective, it's not a new thing, because the phone that you're carrying right now, it has approximately 7 to 8 grams of cobalt, 6 grams of lithium, and 4 to 5 grams of nickel.
Okay.
So all of us have one or two phones, and India being the population this big, so I think waste is not a problem. Uh, The problem is, when do we start seeing waste as a resource? And that is what we are doing.
And that is what you are capturing on as well. So, we were talking about how waste is a problem as well, but you are turning it into a resource. How big would that opportunity be in terms of numbers? How big is your industry when it comes to recycling these lithium ion batteries?
Sure. So I'll put it into two different numbers. One is in terms of volume, and second one is in terms of the size of the market in terms of money, right? In terms of volume, I think last year estimated approximately 55 to 60,000 metric tons of lithium-ion waste came out in India, out of which our numbers and our market research says only 20-25% of that waste was recycled, basis the materials that was exported out of India. Uh, in terms of, if I say in terms of the money, the value, it is not less than $1 billion business market size in India, which is going to grow exponentially.
Considering that we are going to use more EVs and
Yeah.
these mobiles,
Yeah.
considering so much inside.
So, uh, we would need to use EV. I'll tell you, I'll just add another
Yeah,
perspective
of
to that.
course.
India is one of the largest importers of oil. Once we start using EV, the substitution of oil imports will be there. So we can substitute the oil import and make a much more circular economy based model here in India, wherein we won't be dependent on other countries for the import
No,
of oil.
that's really the idea, and that's why government is coming out with a lot of policies as well. But that the range anxiety, the other aspects always remain a concern for consumers in general. So I think that's what a lot of these OEMs are trying to address as well, right? And that is something that you would be facing or in your
Okay,
conversations.
so I think the best way to test the market is you ask the driver. So Blue Smart is one of our investor. So they have access to more than 5,000, 7,000 fleet vehicles. Even yesterday, I took Uber Green, and I always like to converse with the driver while on the travel. So I'll bring out the very different perspectives of things. First of all, when they were driving any fleet driver, when they were driving an ICE engine vehicle, they had to do both clutch
And
and the
the,
accelerator,
yeah,
right? So both of the legs. Imagine running them vehicle for 12 hours, 15 hours. It was very tedious for them. This one gives them a feel of luxury that they are you're driving a
luxury car.
automatic electric vehicle, so they can drive more. Second, I always ask them, when do you charge? Don't you feel bored while you are charging? So there is a complete good autonomous system. They can book the charging station. They go there while charging out. They just chill. So they get to relax. So people have adapted that. So people, the drivers, the Uber drivers, find it much more luxurious. So I think uh, range anxiety and other things, it won't be there in very short span of time.
No, I am glad that people are finding it luxurious. It's smoother as well. But I'm just saying that there are still some ideas about EVs, and that's what people are scared of before buying them.
Sure.
But of course, in due time, there will be more
Yeah.
updates and more clarifications to that. So now let's get back to lithium ion batteries and the recycling stuff. You spoke about how you got the critical minerals from those batteries which are already used. When you do that, how does the pricing work here? This is what you'd make, and then you sell it to your clients. So is the utilization as effective? Is it that efficient? And what happens to the pricing?
Okay, so India, specifically in India, you have to pay for the scrap, wherein on the European side, you are paid for the scrap collection. So that makes it little bit tough for Indian recyclers. But government has introduced certain policies like the EPR credits,
Correct.
where the recyclers are subsidized by the manufacturers as a EPR credit. They get paid for it, but it will still take some time for the complete implementation of that. But if you ask me, the pricing of this scrap, so it varies to different chemistries.
Hmm.
So, and chemistries are on the basis of minerals that are inside it.
Correct.
So in mobile phones, it's basically LCO chemistry. So LCO is lithium cobalt oxide. So there is a high cobalt content, which means when you extract the materials, you will be able to extract more cobalt out of it.
Okay.
So the pricing for this particular battery of electronics is very high. When it goes to NMC, which is in your two-wheeler, which is nickel, cobalt, manganese, so the pricing is, I would say, approximately 120 rupees to 150 rupees in midterm of that per kg. It is on the basis of per kg. Then it comes LFP, which is the lithium ferrophosphate. It only has lithium in it, which is in very small quantity.
Correct.
First of all, people should never be confused that lithium ion battery contains a lot of lithium. It
Yeah.
is not more than 3, 4, 5%, to be
Okay.
honest. Okay. So the pricing for LFP is the least. And it is also a challenge for recyclers. Because whether there is enough value for recovery to run the entire operations for LFP, but somehow recyclers are cracking it also.
Okay. So it would be more profitable for them to go with the other two chemistries than
Yes,
LFP, right?
because they have more minerals in them.
Of course, yeah, because it would give them better price or better margins as well. So this entire process where you get an older battery, take it off, take out the minerals to putting it into new battery, how long does that take? And how much lower is the pricing from say the original minerals? Like is it dependent or does the pricing come off after you reuse it?
Okay, so maybe I'll run you through an entire process,
Yes, please.
right? Uh, let's compare it with mining versus recycling,
Yes.
and then I'll compare it first of all in terms of timeline, then the cost, and then what is the difference, right? So let's say let's talk about lithium, right? Lithium can be mined from two various sources, and the countries which where the lithium is mined heavily is in Chile and in Australia. Where in Chile it's more of brine process, and in Australia it's supermidine rock ore out of which the refining happens. It takes approximately 6 months once the material is mined to reach to a cell, because on the mining side it goes to a refiner in China, then he refines it, then it goes to the producer of precursor material who makes the entire composition, then it goes to a cell manufacturer. So it's a very long supply chain, right? Wherein if you see in terms of recycling, once the material is collected, from collection to reaching back to a cell, it is a timeline of around 3 months. Because let's say if you are doing it in India, there is no cell manufacturer here in India at the moment. It goes to China or Korea. But when the India will develop its own capabilities of cell manufacturing, I think the recycled material can be converted into a new fresh cell
Faster.
within a month. I have no doubts on that. In terms of cost, uh, when you do, because there is a long process and various stakeholders involved on the mining side, versus a recycler just selling the material to the refiner, I think there you can very easily say that recycled material is approximately 45 to 50% lesser cost, the same purity, the same specs as compared to a mined material.
So they will have the same efficiency. It's just costing less because it's not exactly mined directly.
So I'll just put it in a very simple line. Just laying down the bottom line of any metal that is there in a periodic table, it can neither be created nor destroyed.
Correct.
So it can
Science lecture.
yeah. No, so because it is easier for people to understand. So there are people who think that lithium is eradicated. It will never be eradicated. So why I'm just putting it out, because why recycling can be done infinitely, because material will never die. It is the inefficiency of the recycling technologies at the moment which will eventually evolve. Then 100% material can be recycled again and again infinitely. That is how we will create a circular economy.
Interesting. And I'm not trying to be the devil's advocate here, but usually people have that in their mind. Ye recycled hai, so maybe the quality won't be
Yes.
that great. And that's why it's
Yes.
very important to tell people that with the right technology, even a recycled material can be as good as the original.
100%.
So, it's important to know that even if it's recycled, it will be great as long as we have technology in place. So, let me go on to that itself. You're one of the many lithium ion recyclers, or you're the only one, and the market is really small in terms of players?
I think there are quite number of players in India, and we share very good bond amongst each other. We are all trying to work together as one industry, because it's all about how much material we can save for India, right? So our approach with all our competitors, we don't call each other competitors, we call as supporters. So that is the approach. There will be approximately 10-20 recyclers at the moment, but it is still very less for the amount of scrap that is going to come up.
Okay, so what is the expectation in terms of the scrap that would come up? Right now, you said it's 75,000 tons a
Metric tons,
year,
yeah.
and only 25% is
Yes,
recycled.
yes,
So, what is the expectation in terms of what this demand could be like? And I was having a previous conversation with Recircle, and they said that there was a point in time when we used to import waste to keep the
yes,
recycling industry ongoing.
yes.
Is this something which is happening with the lithium ion recycling industry as well?
Yes, it is. It is happening. There are few recyclers who are importing as well because, like I said previously, right, here you have to pay for the scrap.
Correct.
So if you get scrap from Europe or any other such country, I think they'll send it to you at a very low cost, just the shipping price you have to pay,
Oh,
right?
so that is the only cost on imports.
Yeah, I mean the shipping price and very nominal, right?
Yes.
Whatever the company wants, it will be lesser than Indian scrap market prices. So if you ask me that how many whether it is enough or not, so I would say next 3 years approximately 5 lakh ton of lithium ion scrap is going to come out because last 3 years 20 lakh vehicles have been sold, right? If you see after 3 to 5 years they are going to come back, so scrap is going to come back. Now it depends what is the energy left in those batteries. If it is more than 75% or 60 to 75% between that range, it can be refurbished. You can
Hmm.
make second life battery packs out of it.
Okay.
If it is lesser than that, you get it recycled, get the resource recovery, and then sell it, send it back to new cell manufacturers.
Interesting. So it's a profitable business if you go to, say, a Blue Smart, other companies who are investing big time in EVs, they would be happy to take up as much recycled batteries as they are taking the original batteries?
Yeah, sure. I think that is no brainer. If not directly into the fleet, they'll take these batteries. The refurbished batteries can be used in the stationary storage applications, which can be in the chargers going forward. So uh, in India, chargers are on grid,
Hmm.
right?
Correct. Hmm.
Imagine there is a 22 kilowatt hour of vehicle four wheeler, and right now let's say there are 2 lakh 3 lakh vehicles, right? 10 years down the line there will be 100 let's say 10 million 20 million vehicles. Imagine the load on the grid,
Correct.
it will be huge. So you'll have to store energy prior to the peak times.
Correct.
That is where these batteries can be reused, the refurbished
That's
batteries.
brilliant because storage systems is
Yes,
something that everyone's focusing on as well.
yes,
Be it Reliance Industries, big capex in the storage systems, be it government, which is coming
yes.
out with PLIs in the storage system. So, is there a policy in place for lithium ion battery recycling or recycling in general from the government? You spoke about EPR credits, but is that enough? Do we need more here?
So first of all, this is mandated by it lies into the purview of Ministry of Forest and Environment.
Hmm.
Okay, so there is a Central Pollution Control Board, and they
Correct.
have beautifully made out a policy where they have given the targets to the producers. So the first year, after 3 years, let's say the target starts once the battery come to end of life. So in the first year, after 3 years, they have to get 50% of they have to submit it back to the government that 50% of the batteries have been recycled. Then it comes to 60% next year, then 70, then it goes to 100% over 5 to 7 years of timeline, which is a boon for us because they have to make sure these batteries are recycled. So they
No
they will
matter
make
what.
sure
Yeah.
that is good for the country, and I believe that is a good support, and you are also paid for it because of EPR. You have to give them the EPR
And you get
certificates.
paid if you are getting it recycled. The
Yes,
companies, it is more than a moral responsibility, it's also become a policy responsibility
yes,
for them as well.
yes.
uh,
Plus, there is sorry to
no,
cut you.
please go ahead,
Yeah.
please go ahead.
Plus, government is focusing pretty much on that, especially the Ministry of Mines, on the critical mineral policy that they
Yeah.
have floated. So
The
that is
Jammu
also
and
in place.
Kashmir lithium mines, and
Yeah.
we've spoken about reserves because we have none right now, right?
Yes.
So it is very important that that comes up so that we will indigenously be able to make that.
Uh, yes. So it is tough to mine from there. The mine the reserves that have been found, there are some challenges which I think technologies will meet up.
So we need more investment in technologies as well now.
Yes, the content of lithium into those rocks is very less. Therefore, the
Ah,
cost of extraction will be very high.
so they say it's 5.9 million tons. Is that less? I'm just trying to understand because we have spoken about it being one of the second largest after Chile, I think. That is 9 million tons. Then there's China, there's Australia, and then we come to India, which is not looking so less if we go by the numbers.
Yeah. No, I think it is good. It is good.
Okay, all right. So is it the same as sodium ion batteries? People talk about them being used as well. I'm not that good at science, and that's
No,
why I
no, it's
want to
fine.
understand that.
Yes. No, 100%. So let's understand the bottom line, which is why lithium ion, why not sodium ion to
Correct.
start with, right?
Yeah.
Because lithium, if you see the entire periodic table, lithium is one of that metal which can hold the maximum, which has the maximum energy density. So
Hmm.
it can hold more charge in a very smaller space, and
Ah.
sodium comes after it, right? So for electric mobility, I think it's a no doubt that lithium will stay for a longer time, unless and until sodium ion technology is able to crack something significantly good, which is compared to lithium ion, wherein in energy storage, sodium ion will play a big role. So both will go hand in hand. Even in a hydrogen based system, lithium ion battery will be there.
Okay.
So it's not that the batteries are going to go out, it will stay. So therefore minerals are very important.
Yeah, got it. So, Utkarsh, tell me, in that case, you've seen this industry for a while. You're saying that there are players, but not so many. So, today, if somebody has to enter this industry, would you tell them that yes, it's very profitable, come in? And do the mineral prices impact how the recycling profit come to you?
Yes, big time. To give you an example, January 2023, uh, the lithium was approximately, I would say, in $50,000 per ton and up, right? Now it is approximately 19,000, for in
Yeah,
the
it's
range
at
of
a record low.
14,000 to, it is one of the lowest of all time. Uh, so you have to be very smart. I have few suggestions for people who are trying to get into lithium ion recycling. First of all, try to be a technology driven company if you're trying to enter into it, because chemistries is is ever evolving. Let's say you buy a process from somewhere and you try to scale it up, tomorrow the chemistry might change, so you will be in trouble. So that is the first suggestion. Second, specifically the hydrometallurgy technology that is used to recycle and extract minerals. In a simpler term, it is like cooking food. Even if I give you the recipe, your taste and my taste will differ. So it has to be mastered over time. So make sure when when you're starting this business, you have enough window to master the technology of like 3 to 5 years. Thankfully, we started out of college. We had nothing to lose at that time, right? So that is the second suggestion. Third one is make sure you have, and this is the most important one, make sure you have your reverse logistics in place for the sourcing of batteries. If you don't have a stable sourcing in place, it is going to be a big challenge. So that's very important.
Okay. So that means lithium prices at record low, not so good for the recycling industry. I'm just trying to understand the math here because if you sell it ahead, you might get a lower cost. Is that the case?
It is, I would say it is turbulent. I won't say it is bad. I would say it is a turbulence for us. And there's always a turbulence when the flight takes off. So this is the industry taking off, right? Which is okay. But it is directly proportionate to the scrap pricing as well. It's not that the scrap pricing will
Will be.
always stay the same. So the metal prices go down, the scrap prices also come down. So it stays neck to neck. But you have to find out more avenues uh, 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 for your feed to the hydrometallurgy plant. For example, the biggest source for a recycler will be from the cell manufacturing scrap. That is one of the biggest industry in China as well. So that is one part. So if you're trying to start a business in this, maybe you can look at that, whether you can refine it. Second is there are various feeds that are available all across the world for refining. So you can also use that to to keep your business model stable.
Okay. And what happens to the metal with the battery? Do you process that as well, or is it given to somebody else? When you get a battery, there'll be minerals, and that is reused by you?
Yeah, okay. So the metal I would say is the casing material of the
Correct, the
battery, which is
casing material.
aluminum and
Yes.
copper. There's a very stable market for that in India. We recycle it, we process it into different granular forms, and we give it and we sell it off to the other recyclers. So we are more focused on the critical materials as a
Yes.
company.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand what happens to the metals. So you recently raised funds, so congratulations on
Thanks.
that. What plans next? What will your capacity look like? What is it currently? And where will be you using those funds?
Okay. Uh, so we recently completed our pre-series
Yeah.
A, which was basically to scale up our operations. We have had made certain business model, which we have implemented. Last year, FY23 was our first year of operation. We closed it PAT positive in the very first year.
Ah,
This
okay.
year also we are looking at that, and so once we have validated our business model, now we are scaling it up. So in the scale up, so even this year's tagline is scale up sustainably. So in the scale up, we are setting up a commercial scale hydrometallurgy plant, which is 60 tons per month feed capacity. We work on a hub and spoke model. We are going to set up two spokes, one on the west side and on the east side of India. We are already operational very well in North India. To expand our network for reverse logistics, which will be pan India network, though we are already sourcing the material from all across the country, but we want to make it a more robust system and much more secure. And the most important one that we have realized in our journey of last 2 3 years is that refurbishment is also a big business,
Achha.
because in the entire curve of battery coming to end of life, there will be an interim where these cells can be reused, and you don't need to, especially the cells coming from four wheelers and two wheelers, this can be reused. You don't need to waste that energy. You can use those cells into a energy storage applications for solar or the power walls or the home inverters. So that a commercial scale line we are putting up now, and going to scale that up as well.
Okay, so it's going to be a pan India plan now, or at least starting in that direction.
Yes,
So, all
yes.
the best to you.
Thank you.
And Utkarsh, it was such a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for, cutting down this complex chemistry for all of us and demystifying a lot of ideas that people have about batteries. And generally, I think there's not much awareness otherwise as well that batteries that we use can be put to good use by recycling. So, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thanks a lot. And I would just end by saying that we say in our company that circularity is the only way ahead.
It is. We have no planet B, so we have to go circular. Okay,
Yes.
Utkarsh, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you guys for tuning in and writing to us. And keep doing that. Tell us which are the other topics that you want us to de jargonize for you when it comes to climate change and sustainability, because we know living sustainably and circularity is the only way to go. Thanks a lot for tuning in today.